Hey everybody, this is Tanner Glant, joined by my brother Thomas, and today we have a special guest, Halifax, Nova Scotia's very own and Iowa Wild forward, Mike O'Leary. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
First off, I guess we want to congratulate you on your new contract with Iowa. I mean, what was the key factors on deciding to re-sign with the Wild?
Yeah, I think obviously going in new last year, when I got there, I didn't really have expectations to how things were going to go. And Mike Murray, the GM, and the coach, Tim Army, who's no longer there, but they were both extremely good to me. They treated me really well and gave me opportunities I never got to have before. So I ended up building just a really good relationship with Iowa, and obviously just wanted to kind of keep the forward momentum going. And yeah, I think both sides wanted to get the deal done, and we were able to find a number that worked for everyone, and we're both excited about it. So
So it's the off season now. What's your key focuses this off season for building into next year?
I think for me, like one of the things that's always been an emphasis for me to work on is just top end speed.
Right.
I think a big part of that too is obviously like in the gym, just being able to do like be as explosive as I can in
Mm,
everything I do. And I think part of that too is kind of in the last few years, just really focusing on like body mechanics and how my body works.
right.
Um, and I've never really been like a flexible guy. So just really making sure that uh, I do basically like the stuff before workouts, the stretching, the post workout stuff to kind of make sure everything goes smoothly along the way.
Yeah, I think you've seen it in, hockey in general the last, 5, 10 years. It's getting into a faster game. It's more of an explosive game than it was, back in the early 2000s. So it's a very good point to bring up.
Yeah, no, I think that's like you said, especially in today's game, like speed kills, like you look
Mm.
at the best players in the world, like they're all extremely good skaters. And then even look at like let's call the fourth line guys in the NHL now. I think like you used to see them kind of be maybe these like bigger, stronger, tougher guys, and there definitely still are a lot of those guys in the league. But I think there's also it's kind of you've seen a little bit of a shift to the maybe speedier guys who can kind of get up and down the ice with pace.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you're into your workouts yet this summer, but what's your plans during the summer? Get any plans to go away or anything?
So I did. I've been home for I think this is my second week home after our season ended. I took a little bit of time with my girlfriend, and we kind of just hung out and didn't do much. Honestly, I played a lot of golf, and we were at her beach house, so it was nice. But since being home, yeah, I've started working out 5 times a week, and we skate. There's a group of us that skates twice a week, so that's nice. I don't have a ton of trips this year, honestly. I have 5 buddies getting married next summer, so I'm gonna be a really busy man next summer. So I'm taking it easy this summer, and just knowing that next summer is gonna be a busy one.
5 in 1 year. Like
Wow.
you're just getting to that age where everybody's getting married, right? So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh,
I'm the
yeah,
farthest thing from it, so
yeah. Gonna go from not seeing the guys ever to seeing them every weekend next summer. So
oh,
yeah.
brutal. But
yeah.
so yeah, so kind of going back in your pro before that a little bit, you kind of took a different route than most people from the Maritimes. You went with the NCAA route instead of junior hockey. So what was the big decision makers on picking Notre Dame over going to the Q?
Yeah, so actually, it's kind of a long story. So when I was in Bantam, I played with Rowan O'Brien, who's Liam O'Brien's younger brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my dad would talk to Sean O'Brien, their dad, quite a bit about Liam's path and things that he had experienced and stuff like that. And one of the things Sean had told my dad, who's actually named Sean too, was just that they checked out some prep schools. Liam had looked at colleges, and they found it very appealing and very interesting, and he thought that it would be something that'd be worthwhile for me. So me and my dad ended up going down and looking at some prep schools in New England, and I ended up deciding on one called Salisbury, which now there's been a decent amount of Maritime kids actually going through there, and they're all having success, which is nice. Um, and then actually at the time in the 10th grade, I was committed to Cornell, kind of when all the
Okay.
Q stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I didn't really know how the Q stuff was going to shake out. You never really know who's going to pick you, where you'll get picked, all
Mm.
that type of thing. At that point, I was definitely still set on going um, to college. I just had heard a lot of good things. I was excited about Cornell. Um, and then I went to Dubuque in the USHL for my 12th grade year. Um, and that's when obviously the American dollar is much better than the Canadian dollar. And one of the things about like the Ivy League schools is it's not scholarship, it's financial aid.
Oh,
And having
wow.
my parents had already sent me to American prep school, which wasn't cheap either. I kind of just wanted to reopen everything and see what my options were. And then Notre Dame was actually one of the first teams that came to me once I kind of reopened where I was going to go, and I liked that they had liked me straight from the start, and weren't one of the teams that kind of came in late. So, and then when I went there, I just kind of fell in love with it. Honestly, I mean, so flashy and like they had just got the new rink, the new locker room. When you go around campus, everything's like pristine, and it's just like a place I'd never seen before. Kind of on like a different level, you know. Like there's
Right.
Notre Dame logos everywhere, and the helmets are gold and everything like that. So I think as a kid, like it's pretty persuasive when you go. So yeah, that's how I ended up there.
I mean, I can't imagine a school like that because I mean, it's a good hockey program, and I mean, the football there too is crazy. I can't just imagine the atmosphere.
Yeah, I say now, like looking back on it, obviously I didn't really know much about college. I didn't know anyone really that had gone to college to kind of lean on and ask them like, hey, like what do you think? Like what are things I should kind of have on like a checklist or would you recommend? And after like me going through it, like I'll tell guys now, like if you can go to a school with like a good football team, it is, I mean, for many reasons. One, like if you have a good football team, your school probably has like a lot of money and therefore like all all athletes are going to get treated pretty well. But like
Right.
on the second note, like there's those games are so much fun. Like they're
Yeah.
nothing like anything I've ever like witnessed before, and it's just like memories that like me and all my buddies that went through like will have forever. We always talk about how like the football games are some of like just the best moments of our 4 years.
And did you find the college game maybe suited your playing style better? It's more of a like I guess I interpret it as more of a men's game compared to junior.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely. I think it's more of a men's game. Just it's just older, you know, like
Mm.
I mean, now it's kind of getting out of hand with all the transfers and stuff. And like
Yeah.
there's guys that are like 25 and 26, like still in college. And it's like obviously, you know, it's at that point, like you could have a kid coming in who's 18 playing against somebody who's 26.
Mm.
Like
Right.
at that point, you're playing against a man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I think like in that aspect, it definitely is more like a man's game compared to junior. And then I think just like each team in college kind of like plays a different way. So I think
Mm.
like depending on the kind of player you are, like that's definitely something that you should kind of like look out for when you're going into your recruitment, just because some teams play certain ways and like certain styles of players and um, if you are the way they like you, then that's great. But sometimes if you're not, it can kind of make for a tough situation.
Yeah. So I mean, one more question, I guess, on college. I mean, I'm a Montreal fan. You played with Jake Evans, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. I guess can you kind of touch on him as a player?
Yeah, I mean, he was, I mean, as a person, he was a great guy. He was a captain one of our years. He just was a player in at school. He just did it all. Like, really hard worker, like, really good team guy. He was playing center at the time, just like offensive zone, defensive zone. Like, he was out there as much as we could get him out there. Um, and yeah, he was great for us in every way, and especially like as a guy, he was a couple of years older, but he was really good to the young guys too. So
Mm.
I'm really happy he's having the success he has been having.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, he stays healthy. I know he's had some concussion issues and
Yeah,
stuff like that, but
yeah, he's taking a couple big hits, but
yeah.
hopefully that's behind him and he can stay healthy and have a good year next year.
Yeah. So you played two full seasons with the Hartford Wolfpack when you went pro before coming over to Iowa.
Yeah.
What has been the difference maker for you since joining Iowa compared to Hartford? Because you had a breakout season this year.
I think for me, it was just opportunity.
Mm,
In Hartford, obviously thankful for them for kind of giving me my pro start. Um, and obviously the first year we went in was the COVID year. That was my first full season. So we actually only played like 20 games, like 10 against Bridgeport, 10 against Providence. And there were so many guys on our team, like
right.
overflow amount of guys. So it was almost even more difficult than it would have been in like a normal year just to play just because the games were so limited, that type of thing. And it was just so weird, like a just very unique season. And then my second year in Hartford would have been like my real like first like real taste of it, playing like the full season and the schedule and that type of stuff. Um, and they kind of like I'm trying to think about how to phrase this properly. Like I was always like coming out of college, I was like known as like a good defensive centerman, and that's how they saw me. So
Yeah.
I was kind of put in situations where I could be that,
Mm,
like fourth line, whatever, be on the penalty kill, win your faceoffs in the defensive zone, and maybe play against other teams' better lines and try and shut them down. Um, and then when I got to Iowa, it was kind of like they had a new belief in me, which I'm very appreciative of. And right when I got there from the jump, they told me like, "Hey, like we know you can do the defensive things and you're very responsible, but like we see like an upside that you haven't reached yet. Like there's more for you to give offensively, and you don't have to sacrifice that. And we're going to put you in situations where you can do that." I
mm,
just was like awesome, like that's pretty much what any player wants to hear.
right.
And they were very true to their word. Like they gave me a lot of opportunity, put me in really good situations. And obviously, when you get put in those situations, like you're playing with your team's best players, and some of those guys, like I got to play a little bit with that Nick Patan on our team, who's a great playmaker. So it's kind of like, get him the puck, like do some of the dirty work, and then kind of just reap the dividends, which was great for me. So yeah, really thankful that Iowa kind of like gave me the chances to just prove that I could do it.
Yeah. Because I think you had some power play time too. I think you tucked a couple in on the power play too.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
honestly we played a couple preseason AHL preseason games, and I was on the power play, and I remember like at the start of the year I don't think I was on it, and then we got about like 10 games in, and they were like, all right, like we're gonna give you like your chance now, and I had scored on the power play that game, and honestly from that point on it was I got to be on the power play in second unit, and then later in the year guys got hurt, and I probably had 10 games where I got to be on the first unit, which obviously like it's hard to score in the AHL 5-on-5, like
Yeah.
you look at the guys with a ton of points, like there's a lot of them that are going to come on the power play. And just like when you're out there, like you get to touch the puck more, you're more involved, like so it makes a big difference.
Right. And like it must mean a lot. Like you talked about Notre Dame, like they were sold on you right away. And you talk about Iowa, they're kind of similar. They were sold on you. Like that must have been such a big confidence boost for you.
Yeah, it was. It was just kind of like obviously last year, like the season I had in Hartford wasn't great. I mean, it was fine, all things considered, but it wasn't like a standout, like, like you're gonna go have a good deal somewhere. So I
Mm,
was kind of waiting to see what was gonna happen. And then once like the AHL free agency period opened up, like you said, Iowa was the first team to reach out. Um, like they were excited about me. And I was like, all right, like I want to go somewhere where I'm wanted. You know what I
right.
mean? So yeah, that's kind of how like this year too, like I was like they've been so good to me like so far. I have no reason to doubt them or, anything like that. So
Mm. So going into this year, you had your first playoff run as a pro. You played two games before losing to Rockford in the first round. What experiences can you take from those playoff games, and how will it help you as a team going into next season?
I think our team this year, we did have some vets, but we did have like a lot of young guys and even guys like myself who may have been in the league for a couple of years, but haven't
Mm,
had like real playoff experience. You know what I mean?
right,
So kind of just like being in those games, like it's almost like a roller coaster of emotion, and you kind of just have to like keep it even keeled because like you go up one, you think you're doing great, then you might
mhm,
be dominating the game as we've seen in playoffs, then the other team scores. You know
right,
what I mean? And then they have the momentum, and you have to kind of get yourself back. So I think it's all about just like staying even keeled and like minimizing the ups and the downs. And I think like obviously with all the guys we have coming back, like the young guys that a lot of them was their first year, like young defensemen especially,
Right.
who are all really good players. If you give them a little bit of time, like you'll see like significant strides in all of their games.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, just like you said, like I think all we can really do is just stay in the moment and not get too high and not get too low, and just I mean we lost both the games in overtime, you know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
just like never taking it for granted either. Like when you have your chance to really step on a team, like you got to step on them before you let them back in and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, it bounced this way, it bounced that way. It could have been a
Yeah,
totally different series.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaker, but it's a great experience for you guys, and next year you can, like you said, you can take that and say, okay, we know we got to keep on pushing the whole game.
Yeah. I
Well,
think too, like you never really, when your season ends, you like it's a crappy feeling, you know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
think, like, especially not going through it, like we had a great weekend to go into the playoffs. We thought, okay, like we're definitely going to handle our business.
Mm,
yeah,
And sometimes you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You just got to take it a game at a time and
right.
play the game in front of you. So I think
yeah.
we can all take a lot of lessons from it.
And a
Yeah.
3 game series, because it was 3 games, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, you lose one and you're on your heels. It's like
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think the first one is really important because, like you said, you go down one, it's like
Mm,
one game, anything can
Yeah,
happen. You know what I
right.
mean? You
right.
never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So this year you did play with a few Maritimers. You played with Mitchell Bolmus, and then you played a little bit with Matt Murphy before he left. Were you familiar with any of these guys before the season?
Yeah, so actually, me and Balmus, we grew up playing against each other for
Okay.
our whole lives, and we played Team Nova Scotia with each other.
Mhm.
So he's one of my really good friends. So that was I remember when we were both like going through the contracts, like texting each other, like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Iowa, like, oh, I'm talking to Iowa too, like this would be awesome and super cool. And he's an awesome guy, a really good guy, also a really good player. So I was really happy he was on the team this year. He's one of my really good friends, and I think we both enjoyed it a lot. We even went on All-Star break together. We went to Florida with a couple of the guys.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. So, yeah, it
So,
was really nice having him there.
so you guys almost talk each other into signing.
Yeah, it happened pretty bang bang. I want to say we were only about a week apart.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
I was gonna say, because I remember when we read those posts, and it was like, yeah, it was like I felt like everything was all happening at once.
yeah, yeah. It happened fast.
Iowa's gonna sign like all of Nova Scotia.
I know that'd be nice.
Be a pretty good team.
Yeah. So I guess next season you have a new head coach, Brett McLean. Have you spoken with him? And do
Yeah,
you have any expectations, I guess, going into next year?
So I was able to speak with him on the phone a couple days after he got hired, like pretty general, just saying hi, happy to have me back and happy to get to work, that type of thing. And I've heard nothing but good things about him. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but talking to some of the guys that were up and down and spent some time in Minnesota, I was able to kind of get their opinions on them, and everyone had good things to say about him, and they all said they weren't surprised that it was him.
Mm,
So that's usually a pretty good sign when everyone has the same consensus of someone.
Yeah.
And with that, going into next year, actually in my like end of the year interview with our GM, we had like talked about next year and like setting goals and that type of thing. Um, and I've never really been like huge on like setting goals. Like I like having expectations for myself, but also at the same time, like we had talked about in my like exit meeting, like sometimes when you set like concrete goals, like I want 20 goals, 20
mm,
assists, and like you start the year off without like a goal in 10 games, then like your mind kind of just completely shifts. So like, all right, I'm off my pace. Like I'm not going to reach my goal.
Right.
right.
Um, so I think for me, like what helped me a lot this year was just like worrying about myself and only myself.
Mm,
Like no matter what other people are doing on our team or on other teams, like just focus on me, like control the things that I do. And I found that was able to help me like a lot this year, just really staying like, sometimes whatever I get put on the fourth line, well, it's like, all right, just go play the best you can on the fourth line and trust in yourself that, you know, you'll get out of it and you'll get put back wherever you should be. And honestly, that was always the case. Like I had good games, I had bad games, and I know when I play good and when I play bad. Kind of being able to just flush the bad ones and just know what you're capable of, and that's all confidence. Um, and you know, it's tough because like especially as like younger guys, which I saw a little bit this year, like sometimes younger guys like look for confidence from other people.
Mm.
And when things aren't going great, you're not always going to get it, which I think you learn in your first few years. So I think it's just that internal confidence that you're capable, you know, like you wouldn't be there if you weren't. So for me, it's just going back into next year with a good attitude, you know. No, I think one of my strengths is being able to play anywhere in the lineup.
Yeah.
So, you know, that means a lot of different things on a lot of different nights. You never really know what it's going to be, you know, whether it's like go win a PK face off or go stand in front of the net on the first power play and try and tip in a goal. Like, so I just try and stay ready and do what's asked of me. And if I'm able to do that, then I just let the other things kind of take care of themselves.
I only have one more question, and I don't know if Thomas you do, but I'm curious, like with a new coach, I'm trying to think how I word this, but how long does that transition is going to take? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like, how do you get adjusted to a new coach?
Yeah, that's a good question, honestly. Well, obviously, so coming in this year, I had Tim Army was a new coach for me. I didn't
Sure.
know him at all. And I came in, like I said, I just came in with no expectation. Just
Mm.
go in, do your work, and you know, see what happens. Thankfully, him and I gelled really well. You know, we always kind of thought similarly into when things were going good and when things were going bad. So it's nice to not have that disconnect, kind of know like if you're thinking something, he's probably thinking it too, instead of, you
Mm.
know, there's been times before where I would maybe thought I played good and they're like, oh, you weren't, you know, you weren't great. And
Yeah.
it's like, so that's when like it's tough to kind of, because then you're in your own head thinking like, all right, well then what do I have to do to succeed, right? To get the minutes. So I think just going in with an open mindset next year, like I said, I've heard nothing but good things. Um, you never really know if there's like an exact amount of time to kind of click
Mm.
with someone new. Um, so I think it'll just be one of those things that runs its time and it'll all happen when it's supposed to.
And I
Yeah.
guess it does help a little bit too, having the full training camp. It's not like it's a mid-season firing or
Yeah,
anything like that. So you do get some time together and work the kinks out before the season starts.
yeah, for sure. I think we'll go in there and we'll probably be at NHL main camp. We'll get to talk there and then we'll go to Iowa and obviously we'll have AHL camp there and then do the AHL preseason. So, I mean, that's essentially a month of just getting to know the guy and he's going to want to get to know all the guys too.
Mm.
I think probably a little bit on a personal level just to see what they're like and what makes them tick. Um, so I don't know, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a really good year for myself and the team.
So I mean, talking about Minnesota there a little bit, we're assuming that you're probably going to main camp. What do you when you go there? What do you have to do to make yourself maybe you try to stand out or you get kind of what's your mentality going into it?
I think for me personally, and I actually have had pretty good camps in New York and in Minnesota, and it's always I just go in and look at it like I have absolutely nothing to lose.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like I'm on an AHL deal, like everyone on an AHL deals is expected to be better than I am.
right.
You know what I mean? So I just go in there. I'm like, these guys aren't expecting me to be better than guys that have on NHL deals, but now's my chance to show them like, oh, like maybe he is better than we thought, or maybe he's doing things we didn't think he could against, you know, NHL players. So I think for any guy on an AHL deal going to NHL camp, it's just like you have nothing to lose and like just enjoy it and do the best you can, and it's your time to just show what you can do.
Right.
No, that's great words actually to say. I think a lot of it, what you're saying is spot on. It's all about your mentality. It's all about your confidence. Like you see how much sports in general, just a mental game of
Yeah.
just don't get down on yourself. Just keep working, and you'll find success if if you have that drive.
Yeah, I think hockey is so mental, especially at like the higher levels, because everyone there did something growing up or that showed that they have the ability to be there. But I think it just comes down to like who has the mentality where like, all right, I'm gonna do it every night against all the guys who are also supposed to be doing it, and being able to kind of just snowball affect it. And then I think you see like those guys with that mentality, like they're just special and different. Like especially in like the NHL, some of those guys, like what they're doing is absolutely insane. So I think they must have that kind of killer mindset that they probably all think they're better than everyone else, which is how you have to be, honestly, if you're going to be like one of those best players in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any more questions, Thomas. Do you?
No, I'm good. No, we just appreciate you coming on for taking the time, and we hope you enjoy
Yeah.
the rest of the summer.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Mike. You have a great day now.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.